It's like a child who begs for something over and over and over again, and you're just like, fuck it, here, take it. I can't say no because you won't let me say no. People don't understand that that's why it's difficult to have boundaries in these situations. So they put it all on the person who is enabling when it's actually the other person who is manipulating to make the person enable.
Boom. Welcome back.
Thank you.
To another episode of Till the Wheels Fall Off. I am Matt.
I'm Paige.
What does the recovery world get wrong when it comes to families, when it comes to spouses and partners, when it comes to relationships and marriages? So much of what takes place in treatment centers and therapy offices, detox facilities all around the world, I would argue, mostly in the United States, stick to what I know. In my personal opinion and Paige's humble opinion, they're doing it wrong. Mm-hmm. They could be doing a better job here.
Yep.
This is not an anti-recovery or an anti-treatment show. This is just defining the problem, I think, as we see it. How so much is centered on the person with a substance use disorder, addiction of any kind, and often to the detriment of a spouse or partner. What could be done differently, in our opinion? What should people be working on? What worked for us? Talk about some of our lived experience here and where we think they got it wrong. Stick around. It's going to be a fun one. Hey, SoberLink's a sponsor of the show, and they have been an amazing one at that. If you don't know what SoberLink is, it is a portable breathalyzer device, but it's so much more than that. This thing is high-tech. It has military-grade facial recognition technology so that you know the person testing on the device is the person that's supposed to be using it. If you're someone like me and you struggle with alcohol or drugs, well, really, this is an alcohol device, not a drug device. Excuse me. If you struggle with alcohol, I struggle with a lot of stuff, sorry. Speaking for myself.
It's a mixture.
But alcohol, and you're trying to reestablish trust in your relationship and show some real accountability, volunteer and get a SoberLink. This is a great way to show the people in your life that are counting on you that you're serious this time. I ask people all the time, what makes this time different? What makes this time different? You'll often get a bunch of stories. Very seldom is there substance behind it. SoberLink can help you get there. They can, excuse me, it's my bedtime. They can help you get to the point where you're showing other people how serious you are about your recovery because you're showing them at testing intervals. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4 times a day, whatever it might be. You blow in the device, they get an alert, and it shows them that you're doing the deal. You can set up sober contacts. That's right. Your friends, your family, your sponsor, your therapist, whoever in your life you think you trust and can be involved in this with you, they get alerts whenever you test. It can also be used when it comes to separation agreements or custody battles. Extremely important to know that your children are going somewhere safe, right? This is a great way to do that. You can get these things written into your agreements. Imagine that. Imagine having the peace of mind that there's a device that's helping you advocate for your children whenever they go off and see their parent, your spouse, your partner, whoever it might be, right? That's an amazing way to provide peace of mind. SoberLink has been generous enough to give our listeners 50% off a device. That's 50% off a device. And all you've got to do is go to soberlink.com/wheels, enter your email address, and they will send you a coupon code. Again, that's soberlink.com/wheels. And thank you to SoberLink. If this is something you're in the market for, support the companies that support our show before you go somewhere else. All right, let's get this thing started. Yep. I'm actually looking forward to this one.
Yep.
How did this all come about?
I had seen somewhere. I actually see this a lot of places, not just in our community, but even some people that I've worked with, and even some friends about how just like treatment centers or recovery therapists or even addiction therapists just kind of they get it a little wrong when it comes to recovery. They just get it wrong. It's all about the addict, right? Which is important, and I understand that. But a lot of the times they're not understanding the actual spouse's situation and their experience, and it kind of rubs them wrong.
Yeah, I feel like people show up to treatment centers, partners, right? A family. Usually it's a family. Sometimes someone's in there, an individual, but usually there's a family system. And they're showing up diagnosed before they ever walk through the door.
100%.
We know that the person struggling with the substance generally has substance use disorder. They've got an addiction to something. But when it comes to the families, you're usually thrown into one box, and it's codependency.
And enabling. Mm-hmm.
You're codependent, you're enabling. Mm-hmm. You have these people-pleasing behaviors.
Yes.
And you're told to go to some 12-step programs.
They're told that you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
That you're actually like, you have an equal part of the problem as the alcoholic or addict in your life. And that rubs spouses and family members wrong because they know deep down that they're like, no, this is not accurate. Like, yeah, I know I've got some issues. I know I've got some shit that I need to work on. But to actually put some of that blame or most of the blame on us is it's very harmful. It's actually harmful to us.
Yeah, I just wonder where all of this came from. And this is my best guess at this, right? Is treatment centers, the industry is huge. Billions of dollars run through the treatment industry every single year. And like most industries, it's a results-driven business. Mm-hmm. And what are people after, right? If I had to ask people, I still volunteer at a treatment center, a big group. And if I had to ask the average patient, what do you want out of this? If it's a male patient I'm talking to, I want my wife back. I want my kids back. I want my house back. I want my job back. If I'm a treatment center and you're listening to your clients, your job then is to help them achieve that.
Yeah.
And it's not just, it's obviously they're saying, most of them anyway, I want to stop using this substance. This thing is ruining my life. It's running my life. I want to stop that. Mm-hmm. So like, great, we'll get you off the substance. We'll make all this stuff better. You'll be great when you leave here. We'll help you do that.
Okay.
In order to achieve that in 30 days with the family, it's just not going to happen.
Oh, no.
There's a long process of repair that takes place.
Right.
But they get people started usually with education for the families.
Yes.
And they run you through education. They run you through, some of it's biological, which is, I always loved those lectures. Those were actually fun.
Yeah, it's interesting to understand how the brain works.
With a doctor, Dr. Garrison, I believe is his name. And he was the physician on staff, and he came and he talked about the biology of addiction and how it affects the brain, the different parts of the brain, and how your loved one's brain is different than that of a normal person. How things can change, right?
Go down that road.
Neuroplasticity. When we talk about the disease of addiction, it's oftentimes what we're talking about.
Okay.
It's not, and again, when we talk about addiction as a disease, I think people get it twisted a little bit when they think of like things we traditionally view as diseases, like leukemia or something, like cancer, for instance, which is chaos, right? Cells mutating randomly. It's chaos. It's out of control. Addiction, think of it as the brain like a snow-covered hill. And then you run a sled down that hill, and then you run it over and over and over and over. And this is sort of how addiction can rewire your desire center, the way that you respond, the way that we react. It's deep learning. It's habitual behavior over time and how it trains your brain to respond. And it is
based on choices that you made.
Yeah, incredibly difficult to break. And they show loved ones this, right?
Okay.
And then you're told, essentially, forget it all. Because this person has a disease, and you wouldn't treat a sick person that way.
Right.
So you just need to understand it more. And if you can understand it more, then you can forget it, not take it personally, move on, and begin to repair your marriage.
Right. And then
support the addicted person.
Right. Support them. They're here to get help. So they need your support. They can't recover and they can't get sober unless they have your support, which we've talked about this before, that I know that it's easier if you do have support, but they're still invalidating the experience of the spouse and the partner and not giving them a voice to be heard, a space to be heard. They're not allowing them to say how they really feel. They're not allowing them to be angry, because they're saying if you're angry and if you're not forgiving, then you are going to harm their recovery. You are going
to play a part in their relapse. And whatever else it might be.
Yes. And I call BS on that. I don't think that's okay.
So, and you're given very limited time usually.
Oh, yeah.
I think, so I was in treatment in a very large, well-known treatment center for 30 days. And I think that we only had 2 sessions together that I can remember. Was it about 2? Yeah.
Sure.
Let's say two sessions with the therapist. And then they had what was called a family education weekend, where
it was a family education program.
And you came in for 6 hours a day or something?
No, I don't believe it was that long. Maybe it was 4 hours. I don't know, but it was
It was the last Saturday and Sunday I was there.
That's right. It was that weekend. I forgot, but I did have to come every Sunday. I had to come to a class an hour before we had our meeting together. We had visitation. It was visitation, so I would bring our child.
Non-conjugal visits, by the way.
Yeah, no, we didn't get any of that. But that's okay. I was not thinking about that. We had a 9-month-old.
Thing?
Oh my God, I'm sure somebody makes that work. But so you would have to go to a meeting beforehand to kind of prepare you. Honestly, I don't even remember what was discussed in those meetings. I was just I'm ready to see him. I don't know.
A reminder about what we were going through?
I don't know.
The changes
honestly,
we were trying to make.
Matt, I have no idea what those meetings were about.
It's been a while.
I cannot even I could go through some of my paperwork, but I can't even tell you. I don't remember that shit at all. But I do remember part of the family educational program, which was a 2-day ordeal. So yeah, it was that Saturday and it was probably about 7 hours long. Like you said, we came in, we had our discussions. We talked about a lot about addiction. There was not much about what I had experienced at all.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Do you remember at any point being asked about your trauma or your experience or what you had been through with me?
Oh, no. But I don't think I could have answered it.
Do you recall anyone talking about that stuff?
No, it was all about you. And it was also about learning how to communicate better. And it was also about what do you feel like your life was before this? How do you feel like your life how do you want it to be? It was very generic.
You had to write, if I remember correctly, you had to write a letter to the addiction itself.
I don't remember doing that. You said that I did that.
Do I
have that letter?
I remember the letter because it was being
Maybe
read to me.
I recently saw it.
And it was emotional. But I remember you writing a letter to the addiction itself. And it wasn't a letter to me. Once again, they're separating me from this addiction and saying, your addiction, I hate your addiction because...
I don't think...
Here's, I think, if it did anything at all, they sort of set the stage for what takes place in a lot of 12-step especially, which is, I have a disease, I am a sick person, I was not acting in myself here, and those things that happened to you, those weren't really me, that was my disease.
But it was reality. If you were to break it down, I'm sorry, that's reality. It was real. What you did was real. Disease or not, I don't care. The actions, the behaviors were there. We overcomplicate it by putting it separating the two. I think that's actually more dangerous than to actually say, this is actually what you were dealing with. Let's see what we can do to move forward. What do you need in order to move forward? What do you need to make this change? Or what do you need to forgive? What do you need? But that's not what it was about. It's more about nope, you can't be mad. You can't be angry. You can't say anything about that because that was your addiction.
And we're not going to sit here and say that everyone acts in their right mind when they're under the influence of substances. That's not what we're saying at all. I think what am I saying? I think what I'm saying is when it comes to the experience of a spouse, you were essentially gaslit that these things, maybe they happen to you, but you need to forget about those and you need to forgive as quickly as possible because we just told you what's going on with this person.
Right.
And if you can accept those things, then you can't also be mad about the things that you've been through, which is crazy considering what some people have been through, right? This isn't just someone who's drinking heavily in the evenings. This is someone who could have been physically abusive, verbally abusive. This is someone who could have been financially abusive. This is someone who could have committed multiple affairs. Right. This is someone who, you name it, right?
Yeah.
The full gamut of behaviors. But we look at them and we put them in a box called addiction and it's untouchable. It's sealed and it's thrown out. And here's where I think that things get really screwed up is that spouses are thrown into this corner a lot and you're forced to forgive before you're allowed to grieve.
Yeah.
And I think that's the damage. If we're talking about what's really going on, when you think about anytime you've been through something major in your life, I don't care if you've lost a job that you've held for a long time, if you've lost a relationship, if you've lost a loved one to death or disease, you are going to grieve.
Absolutely.
That is a normal part of our processing. It's part of how we make sense of reality when something's changed.
Right.
Spouses aren't allowed to grieve.
Oh, no.
You're not allowed to say you're not call it for what it is either.
No.
It's that I was abusive and I did some terrible things. And I'm told that I don't have to worry about that stuff either. Not really. Because it was just the addiction, right? If it's just the addiction, if we can just blame the substance or just blame what's going on in my brain, then you can't be mad about it.
I know that we talk about how Matt was an active addiction and how he was a different person, all this and that. But me in reality and the way that I think about those times, I didn't think of it as you being an active addiction. I just thought of you as this was just your asshole time. This was just a time that you were not growing up, that you were staying, immature and that you weren't doing the things that, a 25-year-old person should be doing. I don't look at it I kind of look at it as separate lives, but I don't put it in the addiction box. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me.
Because I don't feel like I needed to do that. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to understand too much of what you were doing and why you were doing it. All I cared was that what you were doing was not okay.
I think And correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're
but
fine.
Didn't you also care that I took accountability for those things?
100%.
Didn't that matter?
You have to. The thing is that people don't understand now. Like let's go back to forgiveness for a second. A lot of times people are like, all right, you just have to forgive for yourself, not for the other person or whatnot. You know, you need to let go of all these things. What we know now and what we know more about things now is that we have, trauma. Like
complex trauma.
Our bodies and our minds will not allow us to gaslight ourselves to forgive somebody when there is no accountability and the patterns still continue. Even if the patterns are changing and your behavior is changing, we still can't forgive at the sign of the first sign of change. Your body will not allow it. You have to allow time to process. You have to grieve. You have to actually allow somebody to show you over and over and over again that their patterns are serious. And that takes time. That can take years. Like, I didn't forgive you over everything quickly. It took time. My body wouldn't allow me to do that.
I think you gave me the chance.
I gave you
quickly,
the chance.
But
yes.
You're right. That real forgiveness and that grieving and everything else, that took years.
Yes.
Let's be real. It takes years.
Your changed behavior is what would make me forgive you. But in the recovery world, forgiveness is huge. It's like, oh, you have to forgive. You have to forgive him because it was the addiction. It was the substance. It was, they weren't in the right mind. There was trauma. And it's like, ooh, and a lot of us are like, oh, this doesn't feel right. Something's not right here. I can feel it in my bones. That is your gut. That's your instincts talking. That's your body saying, it's not safe to forgive yet. But then we're not allowed to not forgive because then we put shame on you.
Yeah, and I think what I see a lot of therapists and treatment centers doing, and I know that there's some amazing ones out there. Don't get me wrong.
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe this is part of their training. I'm not a therapist. This is not therapy. So this is just conjecture. This is my thoughts about the subject, is that oftentimes when they see a willingness for someone to forgive, it's followed up with an insistence that they forgive. And I think that there's a massive difference between being willing to forgive, which you were willing. Most people are willing to give someone a shot.
Yeah.
Willing. Yeah. Willingness just means I could see myself one day. I could see us happy again one day. But that's contingent on a lot of factors. That's contingent on me taking accountability, like full-blown accountability, ruthless.
And not just talking.
Right. Accountability it's not just acknowledging what I'd done verbally.
No.
It's acknowledging what I'd done and then changing my behaviors based on the acknowledgement and the full depth and processing of what I had done. That's accountability. And maybe I'm oversimplifying this, but in my little simple head, it works this way. Let's say that you've got a massive amount of time with someone. Let's say it's 5 years where they're abusive and they're awful. And it's while they're in their active addiction. And that's changing your reality in so many ways.
Absolutely.
It's changing your idea about your assumptive world. We'll get into some of Dr. Porter's language about this. That's one of his terms. But the way that you perceive the world.
Yeah.
It can, why would we then assume that spouses can just let this go after a week or a month or 2 months or 6 months when they have 5 years of experience where their brain has been trying to keep them safe as hard as it possibly can by reconciling all this, taking what they've heard about addiction, taking what they know to be true in their heart and in their body and in their gut, that I'm not safe. And they're fighting with these two things all the time. And why would we assume that they're just able to let it go because someone has an addiction? I think that you can trick yourself into doing this. I think some people have, but I would also be willing to bet that it comes back to bite you at a later stage in your life. At some point, in my opinion, when I was saying I'm oversimplifying it, I think that you need to have equal or more time in safety before you can really start to make sense of the past and then start to let go of it.
I think that's really good. And I know that things you will rebuild trust in small parts of your life. Like certain things, it's not going to be 100% trust. But if somebody in recovery is saying like, you just need to trust me because I'm doing better, that's a red flag automatically. It's like, what do I need to do in order for you to trust me? And I will do whatever the hell it is that you need me to do to make you trust me, and that's going to take time. And I love how you put kind of a timeline on that because we've discussed this before. You were in active addiction for 10 years. And I will say that it took about 10 years for everything to become unraveled. Everything, all of it. And of course, like I said, you will see, and this is with Matt doing all the things. Like, he stopped lying as soon as he got sober. You allowed me space, but there were still obviously some behaviors that you had to unravel, and I had to do the same. But it was 10 years of unraveling it all.
Yeah, and what I think what you mean here, let me give someone an example. I always had a bad temper, especially when I was using.
Yes.
I had a bad temper. I'd flip out about the dumbest shit in the world.
Really small shit. Like, whoa, bro, what are you
like,
doing?
Fucking can't find the TV remote and like lose it. Just like a huge reaction for this tiny little issue. And so I think reactivity became a trigger for you.
Absolutely.
Well, it got a little better, but over time I would still get reactive about dumb stuff from time to time, as people tend to do. And when that would happen, it would trigger you. And you're feeling it all over again. Your brain's telling you you're not safe. Your brain's telling you this is just like it was before.
Yeah.
And that's happening 5-10 years after the fact.
Right.
Now, even probably now today, there's still some little part of you, if I get irritated about something, that remembers. Oh, I remember this.
Yep.
That's what we're talking about when we're saying unraveling all of it.
Right. And same with like the triggers. I remember in rehab during the FEP program, they told me all about your triggers. We were all talking about your triggers, but no one ever discussed that we had triggers as well. And those were something that we needed to deal with. Like, we had to figure out why we were being triggered. I didn't know that this was happening until way after the fact. And I'm like, fuck, why am I losing my shit over something? You know, obviously we learned how to communicate really well whenever it happened, but I know a lot of people get triggered by a lot of things.
It is insane to me that just like you had a family education program to learn about you, that I didn't have one, or sorry, you had one to learn about me, why I didn't have one to learn about you and the effects of trauma on the brain.
Right. But they didn't know much about that whenever you went to treatment. It was still more,
it would have been very new
It was
age
more about
then.
Al-Anon. It was more about codependency and all the enabling things. So they told you she needs to go to Al-Anon, because she needs to work her program. She needs to do the same thing that you're doing, but on her own, which I didn't do because I thought it was it was bullshit for me back then.
To the beat of your own drum.
Which I'm sorry, but it didn't work out for me, and I'm glad that I took a different route. And no shade to those who appreciate it and learn from it, but for me, I just don't think that was very beneficial. But instead, they didn't discuss what, like you said, what did you do to me? It was never discussed. Right. The behaviors were not discussed. It was all about you and your triggers and how to prevent relapses and what to do if you feel overwhelmed. You call a sponsor, you do this and that, and it's just like, it was very overwhelming, but it still was like there was nothing about me in my experience. And I think that in the recovery world, this needs to change.
Yeah,
if you want success within your relationship.
Yes, if you want success in it. You're right. Absolutely. If you really want to rebuild the relationship, this is required.
Yes.
It's not suggested.
No.
I think it should be required.
Right.
But I have to ask myself, like, why do they do this? Obviously, there's been an effect on the spouse and partner. And I feel like spouses, partners, and family members' experiences are sacrificed in favor of the addicted person. Mm-hmm. First of all, that's who's cutting a check on behalf of the insurance company.
Yeah.
Or that's the insurance
their
company's
job.
Cutting a check for, right? They're there to treat the addicted person.
Right.
But I don't think that they're doing people any favors when they do this. When I think about my recovery, what really, really helped me cement a new way of life was acknowledging all of that stuff and taking accountability for all that stuff with no excuses. Mm-hmm. No excuses. It was me taking full accountability, acknowledging the things that I had done and how it had affected you. Had I not known how badly it affected you, and this just came through our own conversations about this stuff, how was I ever supposed to really understand how important the work is? How was I ever going to actually understand how important recovery actually is if I didn't know how badly it affected other people?
Yeah, that's been something I've been trying to say for a long time.
It doesn't make sense to me. I feel like people are you're doing them a disservice. I know you're trying to make it gentle. I know that oftentimes you have to think of it like levels of care.
Yeah.
And I think of treatment almost like ICU. Like when someone's in ICU, let's just worry about the most immediate things right now.
Absolutely.
Right? They need They need to get clean and sober off their substance. They need to be shown some compassion. They need to be told that they're not bad people, that they're sick people. They can get better. You give them hope and things like that. But I don't understand why you can't balance some of that with this accountability piece, because that's what recovery is for the rest of their life.
Right.
That immediate 30-day period is a very short period of time to stabilize somebody, but I think it's also long enough to begin this coupled centered recovery.
I think it's crucial. I think they focus so much on like keeping their side of the street clean and doing what they need to do and self-care and focusing on them and having, they don't even discuss like the marriage or the relationship or the way that their behaviors have impacted other people. And that needs to be discussed, even if it does bring on a little bit of shame. That's gonna, once they get out of rehab or get out of treatment and that stuff is not addressed, they're going to think that everything's just fine and honky-dory doo-doo, like honky-dory. Like, let's just, like, this is great. I'm sober, so everything's cool. This is, I have to go do the steps and then I'll get to the amends and everything will be great. That's another thing, is that some people will just get to the amends step and they'll apologize for very surface level things, because a lot of the times you don't even know what you did back. Like, you need to do living amends, like, for the rest of your life. But they think they get to that point and they're like, all right, we're good. Everything's great. I apologize for stuff. But again, it's the behaviors and it's going to take time. But I think that stuff needs to be addressed well in advance before they get out of treatment.
Yeah. And then if you're talking about people that would go out and traditionally work sort of a 12-step program, which is very popular, but not everyone's doing that.
Nope.
I know probably many more people that get out and don't do any sort of traditional program, whether that's cognitive behavioral therapy, like a smart recovery type program, or any kind of just community therapy, like not therapy, but community support, like Life Ring or something like that. A lot of people are just going out with their own assumptions about what they heard from their therapist in the addiction treatment center, which is an advocate for one person generally.
Yes.
And that's the addicted person.
Yes.
They're going to make things simple on you. They're going to make things gentle. That's not real life, if we're just being honest about it. That's not the way that it works. That's not how you build relationships and you rebuild trust, is by everything just being super gentle and kind all the time.
Yeah.
It requires walking through some pain. It requires acknowledging some things that we're not proud of so that we don't repeat them. It's supposed to hurt, so you remember it, so you don't do it again.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. And I don't think that's masochistic. I don't think that's ugly or mean or anything else. I know some people may think it sounds that way, but I think it was a really important part of my healing and your healing.
Yeah.
I don't think that you ever wanted to see me hurt or feel terrible for the things I done and beat myself up forever about them. But I think you could sit here right now and say that you're glad that I acknowledged how badly I'd hurt you. And I am glad that I acknowledged how badly I hurt you, because it reminds me not to do that shit anymore.
Exactly. It's a form of accountability, so you don't go back and do it. Like, we see comments all the time when people mention how, addiction is just, I'm just hurting myself. I'm not hurting anyone else around me. I'm not doing anything wrong. And I'm like, that's the biggest lie that you can sit there and tell yourself. And I don't know if treatment centers or rehab facilities or therapists are telling people that. I'm hoping they're not.
I've never heard that. I've heard a lot of things. I haven't heard that.
I'm hoping, but when people are in active addiction, they will say these things like, I'm just hurting myself. I'm not hurting anybody else.
That's a lie you can tell yourself.
That's a complete bullshit. It is bullshit. If you are an addict, if you are using, if you are, you're hurting people. If you are, you're probably lying. You might be dismissing people. You're neglecting them. You are not taking accountability. Like, just be real. You are harming people, and that's not discussed. And it needs to be discussed, and it needs to be normalized in discussions with people.
Yeah, so we had Dr. Jake Porter on an episode. He's been by far my favorite guest that we've ever had.
Yes.
And amazing. If you haven't checked out the episode, go check it out. He's also got some amazing content, which I will try to remember to link in this episode description as well. He did a talk at the University of Portland several years ago. He's lost a lot of weight since then. He looked great. He looks great now.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that he was a heavy guy at one time.
Yeah.
He looks great. But he did this talk about what healing requires.
Okay.
And he says that number one, it's safety and stabilization. So you cannot heal in a war zone. No. I would argue those early days or even in treatment is a war zone. Like, no one's healing in the war zone. Like, you can't grieve in a war zone. And
you also can't heal whenever somebody's in active addiction. We've talked about this. Like, if you're still going to be traumatized over and over again, even though you try to shift your mindset all the time, it just doesn't work that way. That's why CPTSD is a big deal in these relationships.
He also talks about having full disclosure. He recommends obviously professionally guided with
Yes,
a
he did.
therapist or a counselor.
Right.
But full disclosure, we're going to talk about everything so that your brain can start to rewrite the story of your life.
Yeah, because you have to understand that when there's full disclosure and they're telling you everything that happened, you are going to be angry and you're going to question your reality and you're going to question yourself. You're going to question who you are, because then you realize what happened in the past is not what you really thought was happening.
Exactly. Dr. Porter in this talk, he talks about what he calls the your assumptive world.
Yes.
And I love how he defines
or assumptive
it.
reality. He said both.
Your assumptive reality, your assumptive world it's your internal map. We all have experiences throughout our life, and it sort of creates a roadmap. It's how we interpret our own life, our own world based on our five senses and our experiences with someone else. It's your belief system about what's real, who you trust, and what your life story means. Betrayal, and this includes addiction, hidden addictions especially, blows that world up.
Yep.
Here's where I think we could run into danger of skipping grief, anger, injustice in favor of healing, like spouses are insisted to do, is that you never allow this process to really happen. You never allow the brain to say, I was wrong about this. It's going to happen one way or another.
Yeah,
right?
it will. It'll come out eventually.
You're sort of delaying it.
You're delaying
The brain
it.
says, if I was wrong about this, then what else could I have been wrong about?
Yeah.
And that's the natural assumption that the brain would make. Your brain's job is to keep you safe.
Yep.
That's what it's for.
Yep.
It is protect you,
To
keep
pick
you
up
alive,
patterns to keep you
safe.
safe. Yes.
Keep you alive, keep you safe.
Yes.
So it's not just you don't just lose your relationship. You lose your sense of trust, your sense of memory, your sense of self. And that's why it's not just heartbreak. And so many people describe this feeling that they get whenever they go through this with someone. It's not regular old heartache. It's not regular old, he lied to me. It is the death of your identity. It's the death of the relationship's identity. It's the death of your partner's identity. So much of the stuff that takes place, this is required to heal. You have to go through this to heal.
Yeah.
You can't just pretend it doesn't exist, which is, I think, is where the treatment world really fucks this up.
Yeah, I agree.
They just don't worry about it. Remember that thing we said about the disease? You gotta let it go.
Right.
Just forget
it's
about
like that's they didn't know what they were doing at that point. It didn't mean anything. Don't take it personally.
He said he was sorry. What do you want?
Or he's here to get help. He's here to stay sober. So what else do you want? That's what you asked for, right?
Yeah, that's basically it. So he talks about full disclosure, and then he says values-based boundaries.
Here's the thing I have. Hold on, but let's go back to full disclosure for a second. I know that, like with us, we didn't know everything that happened. I know that you were honest with me about a lot of the things that you did once you got out, and you did discuss some of the things that you had done where you had lied or whatnot. But then I do think there were some things that happened that we didn't really know until later on. And then you'd have to like fully disclose it
Examples?
somehow. I don't know. I can't think of something off the top of my head.
I'll just make an assumption here, and my guess it's things like, hey, remember that Easter when I was late and I said I was at the office? Well, I was actually picking up drugs.
Yeah.
Or someone who
it's probably like that.
We never had infidelity or anything, but for people who've also been through that, they're also rewriting that part of their memory. I was actually with her. You know, when I was on my phone, I said I was talking to my boss.
When I told you that I was busy, staying late at work, I was actually doing this. And it's like, fuck, like your whole world, like you have to grieve that. You have to grieve that whole situation.
Yeah. And until you get all the files that you can start to make sense of. And then when I say the files, I mean the truth, until you get the real truth about all this. And this is about accountability once again.
Yep.
This is about what I wish I would have known day one to repair this marriage, to repair this relationship, that I didn't know, that I assumed.
What if they make the excuse of, well, I was completely blitzed and I don't even remember what happened that night?
Some people may have said that and been honest about it.
Mm-hmm.
I've been blackout before and I don't remember anything. I know I've never slept with anybody else or done anything like that, but I'm sure it's happened. I would then say, well, you are an adult and you make decisions every single day about the stuff that you're putting in your body. And if that is a possible consequence, to me, that's a form of betrayal. If you're willing to put yourself in that situation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
That would be how I would make sense of it anyway, from an accountability standpoint.
For sure. Like if you were
How
in
do you
that situation.
What would you say if I said
that's
that?
exactly what I would
that's
say.
What you would say.
Because that's what we've discussed.
Yeah, but the brain cannot move on if it keeps getting hit with new trauma.
No, it cannot.
It can't.
No.
And that starts with, first, we talked about, safety and stabilization, and then the full disclosure piece. And then he goes on to talk about reparative attachment, value-based boundaries. This is essentially what we do in our course. Take a moment just to plug our course for a second. We have a course called Independently Strong. Independently Strong is a course purpose-built for spouses and partners of people who struggle with substance use disorder. It was partly our own personal experience. It was partly us recognizing that the treatment industry does not do enough for spouses and partners. And so we got with Dr. Christopher Taylor, renowned counselor here in the state of Texas, and we built a course called Independently Strong. Independently Strong helps you find yourself again. It talks about a lot of the stuff that we're discussing in this episode. Talks very little about addiction. I've got one module in there where I kind of give you the rundown on it, but for the most part, it's Paige and Dr. Taylor leading the way, talking about things like betrayal, talking about things like healing, talking about self-care, the importance of establishing boundaries in your values.
And we're not
and your
talking about
identity.
betrayal from infidelity. We're talking about betrayal in general. Whenever you're lied to, that's betrayal. A lot of people don't understand that. They think that it's just the infidelity. And that's not accurate. Betrayal trauma is from being betrayed, like when somebody lies to you over and over again.
Yeah. Anytime someone that you rely on for protection, emotional connection, safety becomes a source of harm through either addiction, anything hidden, lying, right? You are going to experience betrayal trauma.
Yes. So we talk about that. We talk about trauma bonds, healthy relationship dynamics, what they look like,
communication.
So that
we run you through everything that we experienced that helped us. That's what we do in the course. And what it does at the end of it, it helps you find yourself again.
It's a great course. It's a great program, y'all.
Gives you some firm footing on which you can make decisions. Our goal is not to help anyone leave a relationship. Our goal is to not insist people stay together. Our goal is to give people tools to make that decision for themselves, because generally what we find is people who are just lost. Yep. Because you've been through the ringer.
We help you find your voice again.
You're hearing all kinds of stuff and you don't know what to do next. Independently Strong helps people get to that point where they know what their next steps are. You can get 75% off of it, as always, using the code Wheelies75 at checkout.
Either at tufo.com or independentlystrong.com.
Yep. And you can also check out, we got merch on that website. We got a newsletter that comes out every week. Yeah. We got Recovery Rocks. We got hey, if you're a listener, you should know about our free Facebook community. Mm-hmm. We want listeners in there.
Yes.
And
there are member-led calls that go on throughout the week within the community on Facebook.
Yeah. So if you want to connect with other people that are going through this, people that really get it, check out one of those calls.
It's great.
They're amazing. Amazing. Okay. Where were we?
I don't know.
I think we were just talking about
chatting.
The danger in skipping this grief.
Oh yeah, you were talking about Dr. Porter's
phase.
like the different steps, the things that you need to go through in order to heal.
Yeah, and the reason is because the brain is literally affected by betrayal trauma. Yes. When you find out about someone's secret dealings and it breaks the story of your life and the narrative that you've constructed for yourself, it literally affects your brain.
Yes.
It affects a part of your brain called the corpus callosum. That's a fun one to say.
Corpus callosum?
Yeah. It's when trauma hits, so that's the part of your brain that connects the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere.
Okay.
And so the left side of your brain is responsible for logic and the right side of your brain is responsible for emotions and memory. And when they're not syncing, you're not just remembering stuff, you're reliving it. These parts are not talking. So imagine if you just have your logic's talking over here without any color or anything else, it's rather disturbing. And so this physically happens to the brain when you've been through something traumatic like this.
Yeah.
The amygdala, which is the part of your brain it's the fight or flight part of the brain that detects threats. It is haywire. It turns it into like an overactive alarm. This is like where triggers and things like that come from.
Okay.
Like
it's involuntary. It just happens whenever something pops up.
Yeah. So you start to respond to everything, even if it's not dangerous. This is when all the times people who are in addiction recovery will be like, she's crazy, or she's reactive. Well, her amygdala is struggling right now to regain some sense of itself, so she knows what safety is and what it's not anymore. There's a reason for it. Just like your brain's been affected, so have your loved ones, right? This needs to be in every single treatment center in the country. You're not overreacting. Your body's just overprotecting because it's been through a hell of a lot.
Yep.
The hippocampus that stores memories and stores sequence to make meaning. This is your filing cabinet.
Okay.
Is every file's been thrown out. You cannot organize these things. Betrayal trauma dumps everything out, and it adds new painful files with no context whatsoever, because you can't make sense of it. You can't place in your brain the story of your relationship or your partner or your life. We don't realize it, but each of us has a narrative about our relationship, and you may not even realize it, but you do. You've got a narrative. Imagine it is completely blown up.
Yeah.
People who've been through addiction like this understand what that's like.
Yeah, it'll fuck you up.
Completely, right? This stuff is happening in the brain.
Yeah.
Here's what we are told. You're codependent. You're just codependent.
Yep. You're enabling. You're asking for too much. You're too controlling. You react too much. You have too much anger. What else do I have? What else is there?
Those are people-pleasing behaviors, lack of boundaries.
Oh, lack of boundaries, like all these things. It's like, yeah. Whenever we're literally just trying to survive and we've been traumatized in a relationship by our most intimate partner, who's supposed to be our safety person. Yet you're telling us that we're part of, like, we're part of the problem. I remember talking to somebody who did work at a treatment facility. This happened last year. I was speaking with them, and she was blaming the family members for somebody's...
Oh, at the conference.
Yes, for
That's
somebody's
right.
addiction. I was red in the face, and I wish I would have handled it differently, because I felt like she was completely misunderstanding a lot of things. Like I believe that she was an addiction therapist.
Let me give her the benefit of the doubt for just a minute, and let's just play devil's advocate.
Okay.
Do you think what she could have meant is unhealthy relationship dynamics in that home could have made things more stressful, triggering?
No.
That's not what she meant.
No, it was like...
I trust you.
It was, she mentioned something about this person had loaned the addict some money and he spent it on drugs or whatnot. But the person thought that it was being spent on something else or rent. And she was like basically belittling the person who gave them the money, saying that, well, what do you think he was going to use it for? And da-da-da. It's like, you don't understand what addicts fucking do to people. I'm sorry. I'm going to go on a little rant for just a moment, but they're really good at what they do, and they will put you in a position that will make you feel crazy. And if that person is lying and manipulating, and it's like a child who begs for something over and over and over again, and you're just like, fuck it, here, take it. I can't say no because you won't let me say no. People don't understand that. That's why it's difficult to have boundaries in these situations. So they put it all on the person who is enabling, when it's actually the other person who is manipulating to make the person enable.
Boom.
I think that's the best way I've ever put it.
It is. Without a doubt, it is.
I've been trying to articulate that for a while, but did that make sense?
Yeah. Something else about some of these people that work in treatment centers, a lot of them are in recovery themselves.
Yes.
And they're trying to give back, and it's part of their recovery. It's part of their way to further the recovery mission. I think it's very good work that a lot of these people do.
Yes.
But you have to also consider this. These people have only usually, anyway, in my experience, seen one side of the fence. Mm-hmm. They're surrounded by people who are in addiction.
Yes.
They are addicts themselves. And if they haven't been through proper education about betrayal trauma, if they haven't been through proper education about trauma in general, or accountability, like what's the quality of the quote unquote program, whatever that looks like for this person, that they're actually working,
Yeah.
Like that's the source of your information. Remember, this is a human being with their own ideas as well.
Right. I think that they are educated on addiction and then and recovery in that aspect, but then they're also educated on codependency.
Yes.
And that's been the narrative for a long time. And I know that there are some treatment centers that are trying to do better. We've seen some people mention in our comment section on IG on how they're actually trying to change the term and not utilize the word codependency in recovery anymore, because these people are traumatized. It is not the codependency narrative that we need to be putting out there, because it's not healing. It's actually harming people. And that made my heart just like, I wanted to cry whenever I read stuff like that, because I'm like, oh my God, like people are actually making changes in the recovery world. But I've also seen a lot of the recovery centers still go down that old route of, here, you need to read this book. You need to look at addiction education. You need to look at codependency. You need to look at your enabling behaviors and all this stuff. They hand them these pamphlets and tell them to go on their way and go to meetings. And they're not going to, people are like, this is not this is not right. This doesn't feel right. Something is not right about this. And I don't know what to do now. Like, where do I go? Where do I turn to? Because this is an actual facility that's telling me that I need to do these things, but it doesn't sit right
facility.
with me. Right.
This is a clinical facility, right?
Yes.
We know that addiction has clinical basis.
Yes.
We know that it has pathological basis.
Right.
Codependency does not.
No, it does not.
You will not find it in the DSM. It is not a recognized disorder. It is not a disease, regardless of what some programs or books call it. It is not a freaking disease.
No.
It is a colloquial term given to a certain set of relational patterns.
Yes.
That are rather generic.
Oh, yeah.
And if you really
Pages
look
and pages
through
of
them,
it.
there's,
Everybody has it.
to some degree, for better or worse,
Right.
we've all got some of this stuff in us.
Yeah.
But it's misused and it's weaponized, and it's used as a way to sort of tamper your anger because, honey, you're responsible too. And you're like,
Yes.
you're a harmed person. You are open to hear. You're like, am I?
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. Well, I can't be mad at you if I'm responsible for it as well. And it's not to say two people can make a mess, right? I get it. I know that two people can make a bigger mess than just one person can.
Sure.
I know that sometimes there are patterns that play in and make things worse. Don't get me wrong. But when they say you're just codependent, I think what it's probably feels like, you tell me if I'm wrong, is that your pain is the problem. Your pain's the problem.
Right. Yeah. Right. Like your anger is the problem. The way that you want more from somebody is a problem, which this is your partner, your life partner. Yes, I want more from you. God for fucking bid. I would like you to be an equal partner and, love me and care about me and not lie to me, sorry.
It's the least I could do, right?
Yeah, seriously. And I mean, we talk about codependency a little bit within our program. It's a little bit different than what you might see out there. We talk about what the behaviors that are caused from the addict. It's not necessarily something that we were born with. Sometimes it could be from childhood trauma, not always.
Could be from childhood attachment, a million things.
All that. We don't go that route because that's not our experience. But
Nor
a
are we
lot of the
therapists.
times what we've said is that the addict has the bigger part in it.
Here's the way I see it.
That's just how it is.
And it was actually simple for me to see it this way. When I started day one, I looked at everything and I could see the 30,000 foot picture pretty clear. I'm like, to the degree that we have problems in this relationship, I'm responsible for about 100% of them. That's the way I saw it.
Right.
Like, really. I was like, I think about all the things that I could have said at the time that I had a problem with you. It's the way that she reacts. Okay, let's walk that back. Why does she react that way? Because I lie? Because I deceive? Because I manipulate?
Right.
Because I back her into corners? Because we've just done all this discussion about everything we just talked about, how her brain's been affected. And for me, that was actually good news. Not good news that I'd hurt you. God, don't get me wrong.
No, but good news that you could change.
That's it.
That you could take accountability and work on yourself.
Here's the way I saw it, was that if it's 100% my fault, then I'm 100% responsible for fixing it. That's the greatest news I've ever heard in my life.
Right.
Is that I can actually have an effect on your recovery. The same way you did mine, by being supportive, by having patience, by reminding me when I was doing the right thing and thanking me. And
you were doing all the things that you should have been doing. Like, you checked all of the boxes. You did not blame me. You came out a different person and you kept changing every day and proving to yourself and to me that you wanted this. And I let you, I did have that patience because I recognized that. And I had a little bit of, I still had a little bit more trust in me to trust,
Just
trust
enough.
you just enough. And I didn't,
that's
and I
sheer
didn't
luck.
fully trust you either. It's not like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to forgive you, because my brain wouldn't do that. Obviously, we've talked about how all my shit came out years later because I just gaslit myself thinking, all right, everything's fine. Everything's good. Cool. My body was not going to let that happen.
No. The codependency thing in general, I mean, the term itself sort of born out of the, I think it started really becoming popular 80s, right? And
yes.
it was sort of born out of the 12-step movement.
Right. Yes.
Take that for what it's worth, right? It's a program written in the 30s by a stockbroker and his physician friend. I mean, that's what...
Oh, the AA, the big book?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, it was sort of born out of that movement. And it just really hasn't been revised. And if I feel like, and I'm probably out of turn saying this, but this is just something I'm identified, is if you look at the history of women's rights and the feminist movement and how we look at women now versus 1930 or even 1980
totally different.
and what a woman's quote unquote place was in the home or in the relationship or in society in general.
Yes.
It does not shock me at all that this has been used as a weapon against women.
Yep.
And how this has been misused. And what it really does is it breeds shame in spouses who are simply trying to survive. Like, I'm not shocked at all, one bit, that it's born out of that same movement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
It's 2025 now.
Yes.
And we know a lot more than we used to.
We know more about the brain. We know more about the nervous system. We know more about trauma and how it affects us and impacts us. And that's what's more important than that other stuff. That's why an addiction has evolved as well too. Like AA,
Rapidly.
like it's the whole discussing what it's about or whatever and how to recover. Like, I do think that there's some really old school recovery stuff that kind of needs to be updated. Like, the AA book needs to be updated big time.
Somewhere there's some old timer like throwing shit across the room right now.
Well, then you're
that.
obviously not working on your recovery properly if you're getting pissed off over something like that, but whatever.
Yeah, I think about that whole movement, and don't get me wrong. I know that a lot of people have focused on codependency and maybe a 12-step program of their own that dealt with codependency or codependent type behaviors. And they have found a lot of healing and a lot of success.
Right. And cool. Good for you.
That's
but
great.
I know a lot of people.
I would still argue though. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go.
I would still argue though, what you've really done is you've acknowledged the reality of the situation. You've taken accountability for your own healing, and that often meant for many people either the decision to show up in something that was continually harming them and how that was not a good idea, or the decision that they had to move out of a bad relationship if they ever wanted to heal.
Yeah.
I think the result is still agency. They still regain agency over their lives.
Yeah.
But I think that there's so many other people that show up fresh and completely new to all of this. And this is the first thing that they hear. This is the first shit they hear.
There is zero validation. Zero validation is what I feel. I feel like there is no validation for their experience. There's no education on their experience. There's only education on the addict's behalf and what they've gone through. But what about you and your experience? There's very little empowerment because they don't. It's always. You can't leave because then they might relapse. Like, they're putting that shit on you. And I'm going to sit here and tell you that you can do whatever the hell you want. It doesn't matter. They're going to do what they want. You don't have to sit around and wait for all whatever you need them to do to make sure that they do what they do. You need to do whatever protects you and your children. But it's more about like, okay, you need your own recovery to heal from your codependency. And it's so much deeper than that. There's so much more to this than that. And it starts with being validated.
Yeah, I saw a post today in our community, and there was a person talking about their loved one had just gotten out of treatment or maybe was still in treatment. And they were basically told they needed to learn more about addiction to understand it better. You need to understand addiction better before we move forward. You need to understand it.
Like, you can't get mad at me. You can't set these boundaries because you don't understand addiction.
And the therapist,
and that's where they're confused too, because they're like, you need to set boundaries, yet you can't set boundaries because you need to understand addiction. So it just gets fucking confusing. Anyway, keep going.
This person's therapist had essentially cautioned against setting boundaries that were too firm in fear that it could cause this person to relapse. and they were more or less guilting her for her pain and what she was feeling and the way that she was trying to protect herself.
I have such a problem with that.
I do too. I think that's absolutely insane. I don't think they're doing that guy any favors. I'm assuming he's a guy. I shouldn't, but this person, right? I'll just say person, whoever this person was.
They're not doing them any favors. They're enabling and softening and saying that, oh, you poor baby, you know, everyone needs to just be quiet and let you do what you need to do to get through, and still dismissing somebody else's experience.
It is just such a flawed idea to place education over boundaries. In that instance, it's as if intellectualizing addiction makes betrayal less painful or something. Like, it's not true. Intellectualizing something doesn't make it less painful. Maybe it helps you understand the why, knowing why someone did something, but it doesn't fix the what.
I think that it helps you understand that it's not necessarily personal, even though I think that how anybody treats you is personal. But it does kind of take away that, like, why can't you just do better? Why do you have to do this to me? Why do you love alcohol more than me? Like, it takes away that.
Sure.
Right. And it takes
like why do you keep choosing alcohol over me?
Right. Like, and I understand that to a certain extent. To me, I still feel like you're overcomplicating it, and we need to simplify it even more. And how, like, it doesn't matter, addiction or not, how are you being treated? It's that simple.
Yeah.
Addiction or not. Like, you don't overcomplicate it by trying to understand it. But I do feel like a lot of therapists and a lot of addiction therapists do go down this route of, like, you just need to understand addiction more. I know people who understand addiction too much, and it has kept them in situations that are very dangerous because they understand it way too much. You've got to find that line. Like, we don't talk about, if you go to our website and you look at the book recommendations that we have, there's very little on addiction. Like, there's a couple, I
think I've got Addictive Thinking.
You do, and
I've
that
got
one's
Biology
decent.
of Desire. I think Addictive Thinking, in my opinion anyway, is probably the best short read that you can take to understand addiction.
Yeah.
Tversky, it's great.
Yeah. I mean, I have some, I could nitpick it, but I'm not going to do that. Sure. Because it is like AA based. Biology. Yeah, I believe so.
I can't remember now.
I believe so.
I wouldn't be shocked.
No, just thinking of the verbiage that's going on. I could be totally wrong now because it's been a minute since I've actually looked at that. But Biology of Desire is probably, I didn't finish reading it because it is very, like,
it's very dry. If you're into neuroscience, you're going to think it's the greatest book of all time.
It does really, and he was an addict, right?
Yes.
And he, like, puts it into words, though, that, like, okay, it's not that deep of what people think it is. Let's just simplify it. You're making it way more complicated than it really is. And you can't really talk about it unless you've been in it. And so if you talk to people who've been in it and then out of it for a long time, like, you can understand, okay, you know, they actually know what they're saying. And I kind of agree with them. It's the ones that are, like, going by textbooks. It's like, oh no, that's not accurate. I don't think that's how it works, but okay. You keep trying to do you. But anyway, but the books that are on our website, there are some on addiction, but a lot of them are mostly, like, personal development, because I think that that's what's most important to build yourself up. It's not learning about how addiction works. It's not learning about codependency and enabling. It's learning about you. It's learning about what you want and your values and who you want to be in life. Like, it's that simple. Like, I feel like we just overcomplicate this shit so much that it makes people so confused, when in reality, you just got to build yourself up to make decisions that align with your values. And in order to do that, it's reading about things that will help you develop as a person.
Yes.
It's
absolutely.
I mean, that's why we talk about self-care and all these things. It's not addiction.
Like this narrative that if you just understood addiction better, if addiction education was a vehicle to healing and getting through this grief process and everything else that we talked about, this idea that if spouses just understood better, then they'd stop being so upset and reactive is preposterous.
I'm sorry, but you need to be upset. And you need to be
It's a normal part of the healing process. Like, what are the stages of grief, right? Anger is one of them.
Yes.
You're
going to grieve that. You're going to be angry. And you should be angry. Like,
doesn't just
why
mean
are we-
sad, right?
And I'm not talking about being aggressive. And I've said this multiple times because there is a way to be angry and not being an asshole. You know, like we don't need to be aggressive towards people whenever we're angry, but we do need to be angry. And it's okay to voice it in a way that is healthy. And if they don't like it, then that's on them. I'm sorry, but that is their problem. And they are not doing recovery properly if they're not allowing you to be angry at first.
There's a way to express yourself that is non-judgmental, non-critical.
Yes.
It's just expressing how you feel about something.
Right.
And it's every adult's responsibility to take that and listen and empathize and validate it.
Yeah.
If you want to be in a relationship, you've got to learn how to do this stuff anyway. What better time to learn than now?
Right.
But I don't understand why that's the thought. When someone walks into a treatment center, what are we going to do for their wife? Well, let's just teach them about addiction. That'll make them stop being so upset and so reactive. Or the alternative, what about this, guys? What if we took accountability? What if we created a safe and stable environment? What if we disclosed everything? What if we held space? What if we validated their feelings?
Fuck yeah.
What if we walked through it with them? Mm-hmm. What if we held space for them and did everything we could to reestablish safety? What if we got into therapy together while I took accountability? How about this? What if I changed my behaviors? Woo! Holy shit. Why is it just addiction education in a fucking book about codependency? Then you are on your way.
Yeah.
If you're a treatment center listening, like you're an idiot if you're not taking this and writing a program with it tomorrow. I would do it myself if I knew how to start one of these things. I would.
Take our program. We have a program. Like,
yeah, we can help you with that.
And it doesn't just help the partner. Sometimes it helps the person
partially by me, an addicted person.
Yeah, it can help both parties. It can help. It can go with, if you're still in the relationship, if you're out of the relationship, whatever. It still helps you, and it helps the addict, take accountability and hold space for somebody.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that difficult to hold space, but everyone gets so damn defensive when you start talking about things that have happened. And I know that the first year is really... Okay, we've talked about this before. I know that the first year is really difficult to discuss things that have happened in the past because your brain is still rewiring.
We're talking about brains here. Yeah, you're right.
You are removing substances. You are doing things. And I know that it's complicated, but I still believe that things can be addressed in a way that's healthy as long as you have a mediator there. I don't think that if you're doing it together, it may not...
Depends on the person, but
yeah,
I would agree with you. You probably need to have a pro.
But you probably need to have somebody to have these conversations. But I do think that it needs to be addressed in recovery programs in the treatment centers because I know you're just giving them space away from their environment to like chill and rewire their brains and stuff. But guys, this is real life. Like, this is the real life shit that they need to deal with. And if you can, speed it up a little bit, that's great for everybody involved.
Like Paige and I have talked about this. Like, if you want to do the most good and you're a treatment center, why are you not focusing on families more? And if you just say
in a different way, because they think of when they put families involved, they're doing it as a way of like, okay, well, you're enabling the addict. What is your part in this?
You have someone.
We need to change it.
You have someone in your office with a complex brain injury, just like the addicted person,
right?
But they're not treated as such.
No.
They're not. They're treated. Treated as it's almost like collateral damage here.
Yeah.
And programs are designed for addicts, not and partners, spouses. They get crumbs. If you're trying to really do the most good in the world, I don't give a shit what you can bill insurance or not. You should really dedicate your time and attention to helping the other people involved as well. Yeah. If your goal is to better families, if your goal is to better people, married or not, when they leave there, you should be focusing on partners and spouses just as much as you should guys like me.
Yeah. And if you guys want, some input, you can email us at info@tufocouple.com if you're a treatment center.
Yeah. Paige and I have talked about starting a facility, and this was the reason why. Like, this was the literal reason why. It's like, I think that anyone can get out there and they can get with a consultant that could, help them write a really good program to help people heal from addiction using modern science, using some of the more traditional methods, a hodgepodge of things. Let's throw everything at it. Let's get people well. But on top of that, having a world-class program for spouses, partners, and families would be the biggest game changer in the world.
Absolutely.
I just don't understand why they're not treated as people who've been through a hell of a lot.
Right.
It's insane to me. Spouses are told, like, I remember It was just always about me. Like, this is my story. And you just focus on your side of the street. Like, what does that even mean? What are you talking about? You threw a fucking candle at me last
It means
night.
turn a blind eye. It's their disease. You can't be mad.
Yeah.
I could go on and on.
How about validation, education, empowerment, and recovery for them?
Yep.
Veer. That's what we do.
That's what we do.
So what needs to change?
What needs to change? So I think that instead of just having addiction education as therapists, I believe that they need more trauma training, and specifically betrayal trauma and relational abuse, because there's a lot of abuse that goes on within these relationships.
Oh, yeah.
And I also believe that actual couples work should not start until the addicted person is truly accountable and stable. So I think that's why it's difficult to do it within
30 days.
Within the 30 days, but you can start. Right. I think that you can at least start with the spouses and let them validate them and let them know what they've been through, or they let them have a space to talk and communicate. Offer them like our program and say, look, this is something that's going to help you rebuild yourself. This is going to help you understand what you're going through and how to find your voice again, to where it's not just about the addict, where it's about them as well. And then you can kind of get some of the couple stuff going in. But honestly, like, real couples therapy is not very beneficial until they are stable and can take accountability, because a lot of the times they can manipulate a therapist and still, they can harm the partner even further in professional settings.
Yeah.
I've seen that, and it breaks my heart.
I think we need to normalize a lot of things. I think that normalizing the trauma that spouses have experienced and understanding that it is a complex sort of trauma, that betrayal trauma has taken place oftentimes. Not always, but oftentimes. It's when you don't. I think anytime there's an addiction, there's some level of hiding and deceiving. So I would argue to say that there's always some sense of that. It's probably not the same as like an affair or someone who has like a porn addiction. They're completely hiding that from you. But still, it's still going on. You're still going to get that, some parts of it. I think we need to normalize that. I think we need to normalize having boundaries over just blind support as well. Blind support, while I think support is a beneficial thing to have, don't get me wrong. I had support. I loved it. It worked great for us. But with boundaries, there are conditions. You know what I mean? I can't tell you how many times I've seen a wheelie post anonymously in our community, and they're doing everything they possibly can to be supportive, and they're still in the line of fire. And how difficult that is, and how there's no one there to validate them, no one there to advocate for them, no one there to speak for them whatsoever or stand up for them. Nobody. There's usually an addiction counselor that's concerned with one thing and one thing only, and it's that person who's struggling with addiction. That's it. That is absolutely it. I think we should also normalize, we talked about it, anger is part of the healing process.
100%.
It is part of grief. If we're being honest about it, a large part about what we went through was your grieving. And from start to finish, right? The entire process of grieving and getting through your betrayal trauma, which allowed you to feel safe again.
Yes.
Normalize that.
Yes.
We need to normalize that process. That needs to be in every single training manual for someone who's running a family education program of some kind. And I think we also need to normalize walking away when there's no safety. Let's just be real.
Or walking away when the damage is just too done. We don't have to have a reason specifically to be done.
Yeah.
Why can't we normalize that?
I am, if I had to guess, I think I'm pro marriage. Marriage has served both of us very well.
Healthy.
Life. You're my best friend in the entire world. Right. I don't want to go anywhere without you. I love you. You're my favorite human in the world.
It's always been that way.
You're my favorite person in the world. I think being in a relationship is great. It's a gift. It's a blessing. It's an amazing thing. But only when they're safe, like you said. Only when it's right.
The healthy
and if it's
dynamics.
Not, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
If it's not going to be possible, why are we keeping people prolonged in these situations to the disadvantage of them and for the advantage of one other person? It is truly collateral damage. That is a zero-sum game. And we look over that like no big deal. We look at these people that come in, spouses and partners, like, yeah, They don't really care what you've been through, what you've experienced. We're not here for you. We're here for them.
Yep.
We're going to get them right. And then maybe one day you'll get what you had coming.
Ooh.
Yeah, maybe one day, right?
Yeah.
So I hope, if anything, this is a validating episode for people. This is our take, right? We are not therapists. We are not professional yappers, maybe, but we are.
I don't know. I think we're professional.
You gonna call yourself pro? Experts in the sense that we know what the fuck we're talking about. I'll put it that way. All right.
Yeah.
Fight me on that. Argue with me all day long. I would love to have a debate about it.
Yeah.
Would love to, about what I think should change. But you're not broken. You're not too much. You're responding normally. I think responding very normally to a very, very painful situation.
Yep.
I think that's the most reasonable way you can put it. And you're not crazy for that. So if this has been helpful to you and you know someone in your life that could maybe benefit from this, share this one out. Let people know it exists. We'd love to get more people hearing this episode in particular. We haven't done one of these in a while. Sort of a rant episode, but I hope it's been helpful for people. I really do.
I think that's it.
It's been fun. It is late at night and we waited to the last minute to get this one done. So I've got to edit and get this thing out to you guys so it hits your ears tomorrow. So
in an hour.
Thank you for joining us. Till next time, I am Matt.
I am Paige.
And we'll see y'all.
Bye.